Hi, my name's Bruce Sullivan and I'm one of the authors of the program. Thanks for tuning in. We know that school is hard. Seriously, sometimes that life is hard, and I'm sure you've had days at school when you're getting pressure from parents and pressure from teachers to get certain things done that you think, oh, I just don't want to play today. And that happens, and that will continue to happen. I've had days when I wake up and I think, I just want to spend another hour dribbling on my pillow versus getting up and going and doing what I need to do. What helps is getting your attitude right, and this whole program is about getting your attitude right. I was inspired by my own children, particularly when they were 4, about how they would just get up and get into life. And I could not imagine either of my kids at age 4 coming up to me and saying something like, Dad, it's been hell out there in the sandpit today. I've had a couple of trucks go over, I've had a bridge go down, and frankly, I've had enough. You may remember that even in the workbook. 4-year-olds just go and go and go. They have this amazing zest and energy for life. Their attitude is right most days, not every day. So the rest of this program is going to help you make some sense. It's going to give you some language around what you can do on those days when you don't want to play. When you wake up and you think you'd just rather dribble on your pillow for another hour, when you don't really want to do that assignment, when you're feeling the heat from teachers, it's going to make it slightly easier for you to go and do what you need to do. You still have to do the work in getting your attitude right, and what we hope is that the rest of this program will help make some sense of that for you.
Have you ever thought about what's the most important decision that you make every day? I reckon it's the choice of the attitude that you have on the day is the most important decision that you make each and every day. One of the things that I learned is you get to choose your attitude. It's not imposed on you. Each day when you wake up and get out of bed, you make a decision about what your attitude's going to be. Sometimes that attitude is evident in the way that you greet people. So when they come up and say, "G'day, how are you?" if you respond with, "Not bad, been better, life sucks," then that is reflected in your attitude and your energy. If you can be more upbeat and optimistic and perhaps respond with something fantastic or awesome or never been better, then that lifts your shoulders, lifts your energy, and ultimately lifts your energy. That's contagious, it rubs off on other people, and it lifts your day as well. My challenge to you is for the next 3 weeks, change whatever your routine response is when people say, "How are you?" to something more upbeat and optimistic, like fantastic or awesome. I know someone that says turbocharge, whoop, whoop, whoop. I can't go that far, mine's fantastic. But try that for 3 weeks in your response, and then it can become part of a habit, because changing habits takes 3 weeks to happen. So change your response, change your attitude, because attitude's everything.
Hi, welcome back to more adding to, less taking away. What's true about you is true about me. We are not invisible. Everything that we do is either contributing, it's either helping, or it's taking away. And people notice it. And as much as sometimes we'd like to shrivel up under a rock and be invisible, it's just not true. We have this energy, and our energy is going to be adding to, or our energy is going to be taking away. Our attitude is going to be helping. It's going to be adding to, or it's going to be taking away. There is no neutral. So what's interesting about this attitude is that it is contagious. And I don't know if you've ever had one of those events where you've been feeling a bit flat and you walk into a room and everyone's partying on and there's lots of good energy. There's like a contagious attitude there. Your energy goes up, your attitude improves. The opposite is also true. You can walk in somewhere, you're feeling pretty good, and you walk in and there's all these people there that are dead but not buried yet, and everyone's whinging and being cynical and unhelpful. There's an energy transfer that takes place. There's an attitude transfer that takes place. You could be the person in your school responsible for improving the attitude of the whole school. You could be the person in your family responsible for improving the attitude inside your family, just by how you go about your daily business. Doesn't mean that you're going to be rocking the house every single day, but it does mean that most of the time there is going to be a much more positive impact for you and the people around you if you're adding to and not taking away. If you're offering help and assistance and compassion and forgiveness and helpfulness to people versus cynicism, resentment, and taking away, this disengagement. So you've got a choice to make about whether you want to be an adding to person or a taking away person. Over to you. Hey, welcome back. I want you to imagine 2 kids. One kid who's grown up in a family that's incredibly cynical. Nothing's ever right. You got homework? Oh yeah, I've got 2 pages, Dad. Oh, that's ridiculous. No one should have to do 2 pages of homework. That's miserable. I've got a right mind to ring that school and tell them what I think. Nothing's right. There's nothing good about anything. So we've got one child who's grown up with that environment. We've got another kid who's grown up in a different family, a more optimistic family, thinking about what's possible, what could be, looking at the bright side of things, finding the most positive aspect of any particular situation. And we do a little experiment. We get one kid, we get the kid who's been the quite cynical kid, and we put him in a room with every toy that you could imagine that's going to just make a 7-year-old's life light up and go, wow, that's great. We get the other kid and we put him in a room up to his knees in horse manure. Now, he's the optimistic kid. Now, if you remember, this whole program's about attitude. I wonder what the difference would be after 1 hour if we came back to find the cynical kid with every toy that you could imagine and the optimistic kid up to his knees in horse manure. Well, after 1 hour, we went back to see the first kid. When we got there he was with all the toys, not one of them open. And he was sitting there with his arms folded, and we said, how you going, mate? And he goes, oh, I've seen all these toys. And we said, have you seen all of them? He said, well, I haven't seen all of them, but, you know, I've seen a couple of them. I said, well, this one over here, it doesn't even look like you've touched it. That's a great toy. He said, I had a look at that toy. It's for 9 years and over, and I'm only 7. That's not very good. And you said that was going to be an hour. That's been an hour and 10 minutes. I'm not very happy. My dad has to come in. Boy, there's going to be trouble. Now, let's face it, we've all been cynical. We've all been a little negative from time to time. And what's interesting is that that attitude just doesn't work. It just doesn't help. It just doesn't do any adding to. We went into the other room, and here was the kid who had been up to his knees in horse manure, covered in horse manure. He is in a lather of sweat. There is horse manure all over the ceilings, all over the walls. He's picking up handfuls of manure, flicking it up at the ceiling, having a look around. He's burying down through this manure. We think, what on earth is he doing? Now, this is the kid with the optimistic attitude. And we wade over through the horse manure, we tap him on the shoulder, we say, hey mate, what do you think you're doing? And he goes, I tell you, with this much horse manure in here, there's got to be a pony in here somewhere. What's true about life is that there's always going to be horse manure. It's going to be the assignments, it's going to be the pressure, it's going to be the heat, it might even be a little bit of bullying, people having a go at you, people not supporting you. There's always going to be plenty of horse manure. I wonder what it would look like though if you could always go looking for the ponies. That no matter how much horse manure in there, that you somehow find it in your attitude to go looking for the pony, that knowing that something good will come out of this. Hope you're having a great day. Hi, welcome back. You would have just completed the whinging versus problem solving, and hopefully you got the message that to get your attitude right, you need to do more problem solving and less whinging. And what do we know is that sadly a lot of people spend the finite amount of energy that they have every day putting it into whinging instead of putting it into problem solving. So we're asking you to consider, particularly when it comes to getting your attitude right, what would it look like if you could take that energy, all of your energy, and put it into problem solving, not whinging. For example, you could spend 20 minutes complaining, whinging about how much homework you've got, or you could spend 20 minutes actually doing it. You could spend 20 minutes complaining about your brother, or you could spend 20 minutes doing your homework. You could spend 20 minutes complaining about anything, or 20 minutes getting in and doing some work. And I'm going to tell you, you know that you're going to get a better outcome at the end if you're problem solving, not whinging. My daughter, and I can still remember at age 8, pouring herself a glass of milk, and it went everywhere. Whinging would sound like, oh, for goodness sake, I've told you kids 1,000 times. How many times have I told you if you're going to get the milk out? Will you come and get me? I can help you with that. That's just whinging. Problem solving would be just going over there and saying, hey, what happened here, Hannah? How can I help? Let's grab a rag, let's clean up. I still remember my son jamming his finger in the door, and there was this dull thud followed by 2 seconds of silence. This is when he's making a noise that only dogs can hear. This is that bit where all the dogs are just going, and eventually out it came. Now, if I was whinging, I would have gone down there and said, I've told you kids not to play with the door, for goodness sake, I knew someone would get hurt. See, I'm psychic now, get your backside upstairs before I give you something else to cry about. Totally unhelpful. My son just made a mistake. He needs someone to problem solve with him, not whinge with him. Mate, what happened? Oh, I've hurt my thumb. Yeah, I can see that. How can I help? Probably if I was problem solving, I'd just get him some ice, sit him down for a little while, and just make him feel a bit better. So what are you guilty of? Are you guilty of being a problem solver or guilty of being a whinger? I know you're going to get a better outcome if you do some problem solving, more problem solving, less whinging.
Procrastination's a tough one. I've struggled with it at times, and it's really tempting. We've got things like Facebook. I'll just, rather than do this assignment, I'll just open up Facebook and check out what people are doing, or just a text message. I'll just check that, or actually I'll just go and make a cup of tea before I sit down and do this work. Now, the problem with procrastination is we're basically putting off the action that we need to do. So we're deferring that thing that we need to take action on and to focus on. So we procrastinate and find other things that we can be doing. Sometimes that procrastination comes from fear of failure. Fear of getting it wrong, fear of not doing it well, fear of not being a champion at whatever it is that we're pursuing. So we put off and procrastinate and never actually get around to doing it. So this causes us huge amounts of problems. I learned a great lesson from Michael Jordan, the NBA basketball superstar. If you don't know Michael Jordan, you should Google him. You'll be amazed at his career and his records. Probably the most famous basketball player in history. Michael Jordan says in his ads for Nike that he missed over 9,000 shots during his career. So imagine if early in his career he gave up because he kept making mistakes, if he didn't persist and he didn't take action. He kept practicing, he kept focusing, and he got the results. He said over 230 times that he had the chance to make the winning shot and he missed. He doesn't tell you the number of times that he had the chance to make the winning shot and he got it. But 236 times he overcame the fear of failure. He didn't procrastinate, he kept going and kept taking action, because attitude's everything.
Hey, welcome back to what we think is one of the toughest sections in this particular issue on attitude. How do you be more honest, less avoidance? How do you say what you really think and feel? Our encouragement is just to be you. I know we're all still working out who we are and who we're supposed to be. So instead of just saying what's expected, say what you really think and feel. You know, for me, I was always under pressure about whether I liked ABBA or not. That was the thing. Are you an ABBA fan? Yes, I'm an ABBA fan. And it took some time for me to get the courage to actually admit that publicly. If you're a Justin Bieber fan, why not say that you're a Justin Bieber fan instead of saying just what's expected in the group that you're in right now? When it comes to speaking up and saying how you really think and feel, I think part of it is really just learning to listen to that gut when you get that discomfort in your stomach and you're thinking, oh, I really want to ask this question, I really want to say something. Our encouragement over the next 3 weeks is just to get used to that feeling. It's okay to feel uncomfortable and a little awkward when you have to be honest. So get used to that and then put your hand up and ask the question. Say what you need to say instead of what's expected. Say what you need to say and then don't necessarily criticise someone else. So yeah, Justin Bieber, oh, I don't like Justin Bieber, he's a loser. You could just say, hey, I just don't like Justin Bieber, he's just not for me. So good luck with this one. Be you, get used to that stomach, get used to that uncomfortable feeling. Put your hand up, ask for what you need, ask the questions that you need without fear of looking like a goose, without fear of thinking, oh, it's a stupid question. The only stupid question was the one that you never asked. Good luck with this one. Attitude is everything. Hello again, welcome back. More goals, less nice ideas. So much of this has to do with that little voice inside your head. And when you think about what little voice inside your head, that's that little voice now going, what little voice are you talking about? What are the things that you say to yourself? How do you direct your own mind when it comes to your attitude? It cracks me up when I ask people, hey, how are you going? And they go, oh, I'll be exhausted by Wednesday. And I think, well, that's a pretty silly goal. Why would you want to set that goal? Quite often we say some things, we represent life to ourselves in a way that just doesn't help our attitude or our outcomes. Some people say to me, I have trouble remembering names. Well, tell me how setting that goal is going to help. Some people tell me that, yeah, it would be really, really good if I was a morning person, but I'm just not a morning person. Well, why would you want to keep saying out loud to yourself that you're just not a morning person when sometimes you need to be? Now I know as budding teenagers, as teenagers, you need the sleep, and quite often staying up late is a really good option, and staying in bed as long as you can in the morning is an option too. So maybe you need to start saying, hey, I am a morning person. I can have the right attitude, I can have the right energy whenever I need it. Now that's a good goal. Instead of saying I'm going to be exhausted by Wednesday, say, hey, I'm really looking forward to the weekend. I'm looking forward to having this assignment done. It's going to be really great when I get this particular thing finished. I'm looking forward to having this 20 minutes in the library at lunchtime just to make sure I can get that bit of research done instead of whinging for 20 minutes at lunch about how much work you've got to do. Be careful what goals you set for yourself. It really does make a difference.
We certainly live in an action-packed world. Everything's fast-paced these days, and that's partly due to technology. We want everything and we want it immediately. We want it now, we want it yesterday. But what we need to do is have less instant gratification and more persistence, so we need to be more patient. I love the research from Stanford University. They took 4-year-olds and put them in a room, and they put in front of them a marshmallow. And they said, if you can wait until I come back and don't eat the marshmallow till I do come back, I'll give you another marshmallow to have. And the 4-year-old sat there in front of the marshmallow and they felt teased and they felt tempted and they thought, do I eat it, do I not eat it? They waited. Some ate it immediately. Some waited 10 minutes, 11 minutes before they gave up. But some of the 4-year-olds were able to wait for a whole 15 minutes before the adult came back and said, fantastic, here's your second marshmallow. They were able to delay their gratification, and they were rewarded from that through their persistence. When the researchers came back 20 years later, the researchers from Stanford University found that 2 out of 3 students had not been able to resist that temptation. They'd immediately wanted to eat the marshmallow, so they were after instant gratification. But the 1 out of 3 students who were able to wait patiently and be persistent and not seek that instant gratification were the most successful. They've been the most successful at school, they've been the most successful in the workplace, they've been the most successful in life. So being patient, persisting, sticking to it, and putting off that instant gratification certainly reaps rewards, and attitude's everything.
This particular session on More Laughter, Less Serious probably doesn't need any explanation. You know how good it feels already when you've had a really, really good laugh. When you've watched a great movie, when you've just been with your friends and you're just cracking yourself up, how good does it feel afterwards? I think when the pressure comes on and when there is the expectation put on you by teachers and parents to perform at a certain level, all of a sudden the fun seems to go out of it. So what's the challenge? Find ways just to keep it fun. Do what you can to keep your sense of humour, even if it means sending off that little YouTube clip, even if it means sending somebody a message. Do something to make you laugh, and if you can, do something to make someone else laugh. My son told me a joke that I've never forgotten that made me laugh out loud. And it's silly, and I think sometimes the more silly it is, the more fun it can be. It said, what did the snail say when he went for a ride on the back of the turtle? Whoopee! Silly, I know, but just a little bit of fun. Do what you can to make some fun today. Attitude is everything.
Basically, the food that you have each day is the fuel that you put inside your body. And so one of the things that we can do for our attitude is be a bit more selective and a bit more careful about the fuel that we're putting inside our body. So watching our caffeine intake, our sugar intake, our fats, all those things that you've heard before. So they talk about eating smaller portions more often. That can help us. The other bit is making sure that we keep up the movement. When you get stressed and exam blocks come and you've got assignments and those sorts of things, one of the things that people do is give up the movement part. They give up the walking the dog or going to the gym or playing some sort of sport because they're too busy. Yet that can help with your attitude. Getting out and moving the body is what the body needs to keep it in test, to keep it in balance. So we need to make sure we're balancing that food coming in and looking after that in terms of fuel, but also keeping active and keeping our body moving. They can help with our attitude because we've fueled it, we've rested it, but we've kept it moving as well. Attitude's everything.
Hi and welcome back. You've no doubt just completed one of the most interesting, almost controversial sections on more sleep, less artificial light. We know from research that if you get more sleep before midnight, in fact they say that 1 hour before midnight is worth 2 after midnight. We're not asking you to do it every night, but just a few nights a week. What would it look like if you could get to bed a little earlier? Because we know that when you don't get enough sleep, what's true for you is true for me. We get a little tired, grumpy, cranky, and when it comes to getting your attitude right, it's pretty hard to get your attitude right when you don't have enough sleep. So that's the challenge. If you've ever been camping, you know that when the sun goes down, people want to go to sleep almost straight away. Why? Because there isn't the same levels of artificial light. It's almost how we were designed. So there's the challenge. More sleep, less artificial light. Good luck.